It's the boy, Bubba Lutz, coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's your boy, Bubba Lutz. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me who's the GOAT.
Welcome back, Bubba Bunch, to another edition of the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast. It is episode 247, and today we are doing the Cowboys versus Vikings preview for the Sunday night matchup on Halloween, a spooky edition of the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast. If you're enjoying all the content that we're doing on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcast from, make sure to follow the podcast on all those platforms and leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already on YouTube, follow it on all these platforms. Guys, thank you so much for all the support lately, and with everything going on outside of this podcast for me, things are looking good. Things are looking better than they've looked before, and that includes the future of this podcast and what that means for the look of it, the feel of it. I have a really good feeling that things are going to go pretty well for this podcast over the next few months, maybe next year. Really, it's going to be a long-term process, but things are looking good. It's looking optimistic as far as things that we can do on this channel, on this podcast, to make it better. That way it's better for you guys, better for me, and you'll see all the difference in the world for that. So, stay tuned for that. I'm really excited for that. It kind of describes what the Cowboys are doing this year. It looks really great, but there's so much more left on the table to find out of how good this team can be. And after this bye, I hope that you listen or watch the episode with Kevin talking about what the future holds for the Dallas Cowboys after this bye week, what the schedule looks like, what they need to improve on, and how do they match up against the rest of the NFC opponents that they'll most likely play in the playoffs. So if you haven't already, go check that out. But this is more specifically on the Minnesota Vikings game, and I'm sensing it just has a bad feeling, bad taste in my mouth that this is turning more into what's happening to the Cowboys rather than the game itself. The rumors, the headlines about Dak Prescott, about the offensive line, these storylines that are happening, I feel like they're getting more focus than the game itself, and that is not good for the Dallas Cowboys if they would like to win this football game. Minnesota is a very dangerous team, not because they are better than the Cowboys, but they are very unpredictable. This is a very unpredictable offense that can go off at any second, and a defense that has stepped it up in the past few weeks under Mike Zimmer. Like, this offense or defensive front for the Minnesota Vikings is very dangerous. Everson Griffin, Danielle Hunter, guys like this can definitely get to the quarterback and put pressure on them. They can penetrate the offensive line, and especially what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys and their switcheroos of these offensive linemen, things can change on Sunday night as far as what the Cowboys are expecting against the Minnesota Vikings. So most of this podcast is really going to deal with what's going on inside the Cowboys organization, because I think they're more focused on that than they are on this football game, and that's not a good thing. But first, let's just mention all these different things. Now, usually we start off these previews with the injury report. There's not much to talk about, really, as far as injury report for the Minnesota Vikings or for the Dallas Cowboys, other than really Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott dealing with that calf strain that he picked up during the New England Patriots game. It was good that they had the bye week. People keep asking him, hey, if you did have to play that week, if there was a game during that bye week, would you have played? And he said, I would have played. I would have been okay with it, but it's not up to me. And that's what he's saying about this game as well. And I keep going back and forth on this, because this is a good thing for Dak Prescott. I feel like after everything that happened last year, after that horrific injury, now he has a better understanding of what his time on the field means to this team. He got to see front row. A close eye at what happens if he's not on the field. And he saw that for 12 weeks. And that was bad football. That was a really bad football team defensively, led by Andy Dalton, and it was not looking good. They had the elements of a good offense. They just didn't have the execution because they didn't have Dak Prescott. And they played Minnesota late in November last year, and they actually won that game with Andy Dalton. I forgot about this. If you listen to that episode with Kevin and I say all these matchups against Minnesota over the years have been really great. They've been matching up very well against each other, but I completely forgot about last year's matchup. This is not the first time that Mike McCarthy will go against Mike Zimmer as the Dallas Cowboys coach. This will be the second time. That was a really great game, but the only thing I really remember from that game is CeeDee Lamb's touchdown. It was an amazing catch. Other than that, I don't really remember that game. I don't remember most of that season because I don't want to, because it didn't have Dak Prescott. And that's why I'm concerned about this football game. This is Thursday night that we're recording this. I have the Cardinals and Packers game going on right now behind me, or in front of me, sorry. And the interviews, the press conferences, Dak Prescott is saying, look, I feel good. I feel ready to go. If I have to play on Sunday, if I had my choice, I would play. But it's not up to me. And I think that's where Dak Prescott is learning from last season. Look, this team needs me. I am so impactful to this football team. And without me, this is not a Super Bowl winning team. This is barely a playoff team without me. No matter how much success we have offensively and how good our defense looks with Trevon Diggs getting all the interceptions, without Dak Prescott, this is not a good football team. No matter if Andy Dalton's under center, if it's Cooper Rush, if it's Will Grier, or if it's Cam Newton off the street. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do a video later on this week. I'm planning everything out for that. But one of the things that allows this football team to get to that next level, to get to that playoff push, it means Dak Prescott staying on the field. And that stays, a healthy Dak Prescott stays on the field. And right now, a calf strain, Mike McCarthy has dealt with this before. Remember his time back in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers played with that calf strain, and he was limping on the field even though they were making that playoff push. And you could see that he was hobbling on one foot basically and playing with one foot. You don't want to do it with Dak Prescott. Not with the concern of the ankle. This could be a little bit of an aftermath type of injury for the ankle injury, because of how his leg is trying to recuperate and readjust to the new way that he's walking, how he's running, and all that stuff. So this could be just like a lingering thing that is the aftermath of last year's injury. You don't want to take that and say, he'll be fine. This isn't a shoulder injury at the beginning of the season. He didn't just overwork his shoulder because he had to rehabilitate his leg, and he just kept throwing and throwing to make sure he was ready. No, this is in-game injury. This is, if it happens again, this is going to be severely worse and could lead to weeks, months of missing the season. So what if Dak Prescott just doesn't play this game? What if the Cowboys just say, you know what, Minnesota, we're gonna play good. We're going to play 60 minutes. But if you win, that's fine. We have like a 3-game lead in our division. No one's going to catch up to this lead that we have in the NFC East unless we collapse, unless we just completely deplete ourselves of good football and Dak Prescott's not playing football because he's injured. And if you allow him to get on the field not at 100%, no player at this point of the season is going to be 100%. But when your quarterback is dealing with that injury already, and he could go against Danielle Hunter, Everson Griffin, guys like that, if they get to him, if Terence Steele doesn't get that block, one bad play leads to a even more extensive sprain, strain, pull of a muscle in that calf, or even worse, a tear. I don't want that for Dak Prescott in week 8, week 7, whatever the week is. We're close to halfway through the season. I'm not risking Dak Prescott for the rest of the year and for our playoff hopes for a game against Minnesota when we have a 5-1 record. Everybody else is 2-5 in the NFC East, and they're not looking like they're going to win a lot of games going forward. Let's play this safe. I know Dak Prescott feels like he wants to be on the field all the time because he missed being on the field last season. I mean, that dude dealt with everything off the field, with his personal life, but also dealing with the fact that he wasn't with his team. This is one of the closest knit groups I've seen for the Dallas Cowboys in a very long time, and they have said it consistently that they are very close as a group, as a unit this season. And that wasn't the case last year. They get to see each other this time. But they have said time and time again that we are close. We are a brotherhood, really. And that starts with Dak Prescott. And not having him there at the training facility, not having him there on the games, you don't want a repeat of last season. This is going to be up to the coaches. And I think that's the best decision. If this was up to Dak, he would 100% play. But I think that's the difference, is he understands the severity of if he misses this game or if he misses plenty of other games with that injury. If it gets worse, that's going to be even more devastating than missing that one game against Minnesota and you lose. So this game all matters if Dak Prescott plays. Because I think, without a doubt, if he doesn't play, they lose this football game. And I'm okay with that. I'm completely fine with that. You know what? I'm not going to always say that I'm good with a loss. I will say that at some point, a reality check will come for this Dallas Cowboys team when they're red hot and they're winning a bunch of football games. And then they play that one bad game where nothing goes their way. They almost had it with New England. But, you know, when you lose those games where you're like, we're not locked in. I think that's where I'm okay with a loss later in the season. I want that to be later, though. I want that to be the Arizona game, if I'm being honest, or the Raiders game on Thanksgiving, where it's kind of humiliating for them, and then they kind of get back to square one, focus in, and push to that playoffs. But right now, week 7, week 8, whatever, we're going against Minnesota. 3-3. They're a better team at home than they are on the road. They're a dangerous offensive team with Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and if Kirk Cousins wants to play good, I mean, that's up to him. We never know with him, right? He has seen the Dallas Cowboys plenty of times in his career. I'm okay with Dak Prescott not playing in this football game if he's not 100% and if he doesn't feel good. He's been limited in practice, but today, Thursday, he did go all out in his practice, and he felt good running away from tacklers and really pushing it in practice, and he said it felt good. Now, I know Dak Prescott is a fighter, and he is a tough dude. So I know that he believes that, but I don't want to put my full investment in confidence in him to be 100% this weekend. So all in all, before I get into the actual matchup of this game, if Dak Prescott does not play in this game, none of this matters. And I don't even know right now, there's no reports that say if he's going to start or not. It all matters if Dak Prescott is on the field. If he's not, they lose this football game. Fine, let's move on. We go on to the easier part of our schedule later this year. If he does play in this football game, then we get into the talk about the offensive line and the storyline, the novela that is the offensive line. And that's with Terence, Steele, and Lyle Collins. Terence Steele was told at the beginning of this week that he remains the starter at right tackle, even though clearly Lyle Collins, coming off that suspension from bribing that test taker for the drug test and losing the appeal at a 5-game suspension, he's back, but he is not the starter at right tackle. Look, as much as Terence Steele deserves the credit to earn himself a job. You know, like last year was a devastating year, humiliating year for Terence Steele at right tackle. It was embarrassing to watch him play. This season, Lyle goes out after week 1. He's out for 5 games. How do they fare? They win 5 out of 5. They win all of their games with Terence Steele at right tackle. Now, that does come with a price. That does come with tight ends like Dalton Schultz, Blake Jarwin, or running backs like Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard that have to help Terence Steele on that side of the ball. You don't need to help Tyron Smith. You don't need to help Zach Martin. You may need to help Connor Williams and Tyler Biadasz, but most of your help is going to come from Terence Steele on that right side. He's been praised for being the first guy in, the last guy out every day. He asks questions. He is beloved by this coaching staff, and I say, good for you, man. Really good for you. Good for you, man. I'm impressed by his progression, by his improvement this season, and it shows on the field. He is not a liability at right tackle, even against some of the better defensive ends in football, like Joey Bosa Or when he had to go against Matthew Judon had plenty of wins, but it could have been a lot worse against Terence Steele. So, Terence Steele, congratulations, you get a pat on the back. I completely understand that you have worked your ass off to get to this point, and in 5 weeks of football, you have put up some pretty good film compared to last season. I've made this analogy before, and I'm going to make it again. You could be the hardest worker in the gym, on the field, on the court, in the classroom, whatever. Some people are just more gifted physically, and no matter how hard they work or don't work, they are just more gifted. They are just better than you in general. That is the case with Terence Steele and Lyle Collins. Lyle Collins is born to play right tackle. He is born to protect Dak Prescott. He was put on this earth to protect Dak Prescott. He should be the starting right tackle for the rest of the season. You know, I listen to a lot of, shows and listen to a lot of reports. The reports, some guys that are insiders when it comes to Dallas Cowboys say that they have a feeling that it's this broken relationship that Lyle Collins has with the coaching staff and with the Dallas Cowboys in general. With the injuries over the last couple years, especially the one that kept him out for most of the season last year. And then this year, after that first game, he has that stinger that is a little concerning, but he also deals with the bribe from the drug test, and he lied to the Cowboys, and they weren't really on his side during the appeal, and when he comes back, he doesn't get his job automatically, and they really hesitant to say anything good about Lyle Collins. This is a little bit of drama going on inside of the Cowboys organization, and I believe that. It's not an outrageous thing to say that Lyle Collins is on bad terms with the Cowboys, with the things that he's done. If he just failed the drug test and didn't bribe whoever, I'm not assuming, it would have been just 2 or 3 games. But now it turned into 5, and it became a little bit more selfish for Lyle Collins because it dealt with his money, his guaranteed money in his contract. And guess what? He's not going to get any of that back. But what the Cowboys think is that we needed you at right tackle at the earliest possibility, earliest date, and you decided to appeal it knowing damn well that you made that mistake. Why would you bribe him? Why would you make that mistake? This is not the season for that. So I think there's a little bit of bad blood between these two sides, and whether or not that it can be repaired, that's not up to me, and that I don't know any of that. I think that this is going to be a case to where Mike McCarthy's saying, you got to earn back my trust. You broke it by bribing that drug tester. You got to earn everything on this team. Look at Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith was gone in week 3 or 4. Guess what? We loved that guy. We love you. But if you decide to fuck us over, I will gladly send you for a 3rd rounder, a 2nd rounder. It doesn't matter. If Jalen Smith can be gone, so can you. So, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. You should always start the best player, and that is Lyle Collins at right tackle. Now, let's just say, maybe I'm just all wrong about the bad blood, and the Dallas Cowboys are doing something that I've been wanting them to do for a very long time. Now, that comes with a sacrifice of putting Terence Steele on the field. I may not be okay with that sacrifice, but you know what that means, people? And for all of you long listeners, the diehard Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast fans, you know that I am not a fan of Connor Williams. You know that I've been wanting him off the field, and I wanted Connor McGovern to take that spot. What if all these things that the Cowboys are saying of like, what if we give Lyle Collins a shot at guard? These scouts are saying, like, he hasn't played guard because he's not a guard. He's a tackle. But it's Lyle Collins. He's an athlete. Why not just put him at left guard and just put your best 5 out there, right? That's the analogy, the best 5 in quotations. If Connor Williams gets replaced by Lyle Collins, think about how much stronger that interior offensive line is. My biggest concern not only is in Terence Steele, but Tyler Bialic has not looked as great as he did last season. And Connor Williams, I'm not a fan of him, so I will always be okay with a replacement of Connor Williams. What if that just becomes one of the best right tackles in all of football in Lyle Collins? Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not? This offensive, game plan of balance is great and all. But imagine how great this running attack would be if Ezekiel Elliott or Tony Pollard get to run behind Tyron Smith and elCollins next to each other. Think about that. And then you have Zach Martin just on the opposite side. So Tyler Biadasz can be lackluster or maybe below average in his play. But against Aaron Donald, against Chandler Jones, against Vita Vea, where you've seen that matchup before and it didn't work out in your favor, what if you just beef up that left guard position with Collins and you put Collins versus Vita Vea? I think that's a pretty good matchup to me, and that makes all the sense in the world. Do we sacrifice that for putting Terence Steele on the field? I mean, look, the Cowboys coaching staff loves Terence Steele, and that's not going to change. And you know how the Cowboys are about people that they love, that they have a personal relationship with. That means that they're going to have a little bit more attention on the field, a little bit more playing time. They have that little nudge, and that's Terence Steele. And how does that fare for the rest of the season? I don't think that's the Super Bowl winning mentality. That could all change if Dak Prescott plays on Sunday night and elCollins plays at guard, and we see a very dominating performance for this offensive line. If we see an absolute demolishment, if that's even a word, I think that's a word. It sounds good, right? If it's an annihilation of the offensive line against that defensive line from Minnesota, I will put my money in my mouth, even though I don't have a lot of money. I will put my foot in my mouth, even though that's not sanitary. But you get what I'm trying to say. I will eat my words, because maybe this is a case to where all you Cowboys fans, or maybe people that are super knowledgeable in Cowboys history, remember that, like, those early years of Tyron Smith and of Zach Martin, and that offensive line was just absolutely phenomenal. It could not be stopped with DeMarco Murray behind him. But Doug Free was the right tackle. Like, Doug Free kind of felt like the outlier of, like, yeah, he's just there. He works. Like, he's not great like Tyron Smith on the opposite side, but he works, and he's fine. He may be overpaid, he may be overrated, but, you know, it works. He doesn't absolutely just ruin our plans at offensive line. Maybe that's Terence Steele. Maybe that's just what it is, and he's the new Doug Free. That's fine. So, Terence Steele is starting at right tackle. Who knows what it means for elCollins over the next week, 2 weeks, whatever. I say you start elCollins no matter what. If that means left guard, right tackle, fine by me, as long as he's on the field, because that man is talented. And if you want to get rid of him at the end of the year because of everything that's been going on, fine by me. As long as Terence Steele gets us to the playoffs. As long as Terence Steele gets us to the Super Bowl, that's fine. All right. So now that we've had that talk, 23 minutes in, gonna be a short one. I want to make this 30 minutes. So let's get right into this game here. And what's gonna be the vocal point of this game? Like I said, Dak Prescott doesn't play. This all doesn't matter. You can just end it right here. Boom. Cue the music. Cowboys lose. It's your boy, Bubba Lutz. Yeah. But if Dak Prescott plays in this game and he plays the full game without getting injured, God forsake, knock on wood, how does this game fare? Now, this is a pretty even matchup to a lot of people, and I've heard very conflicting predictions. You know, I have a lot of people that I'm hearing say Minnesota, and then some people are like, no, the Cowboys should win this football game easily. They should drop 40 on them. And I'm just going to say that no matter what prediction you want to put, I have been watching the Minnesota Vikings go against the Dallas Cowboys since Dak Prescott has joined the NFL. And every game's close. Every single game is close. Every single game seems to be like they've got our number type of vibe. And I don't see it going any different because Minnesota is very talented offensively. Defensively, they can surprise some people, and they've been better as of late. You look at their record, and you know my initial thought is like, oh, they're 3-3, they can't be that good. When you look at their schedule right now, like every loss that they have, it's close or it's against a good team. First week against the Bengals. Bengals are the number one seed in the AFC right now if we're counting them. Like they are actually beating people that that no one expected them to beat. That's a quality loss because they only lost by 3. In week 2, Arizona Cardinals are playing right now against the Packers. They are undefeated. They lost by 1 point. And honestly, the Vikings should have won that football game on a field goal. The Vikings should have won that game. And guess what? The Arizona Cardinals wouldn't be an undefeated team right now. That's a quality loss to me. They beat the Seahawks when they still had Russell Wilson. I don't think the Seahawks are that damn good, and I felt like the Seahawks are very overrated over the last 5 or 6 years. But guess what? You beat the Seahawks, and people are going to like that. You lose to the Browns in a very ugly matchup. The Browns still have a lot of talent, and this was before all their injuries plagued them. 14-7. You only score 7, but the Browns defense is pretty good statistically, maybe not shown on film. You get my point. Then you beat the Lions, you beat the Panthers. These are close games. You almost didn't beat the Lions. You almost didn't beat the Panthers. But now you're going against a quality opponent in the Dallas Cowboys. This is a very dangerous football team. This is one of those teams where you're like, you can prepare all you want. You can watch all the film you want. But it's just a matter of if they want to play that day. Are they ready to play? The Minnesota Vikings, on most days, if it's Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, they're ready to play. And I'm looking at these matchups throughout the year for the Dallas Cowboys. Let's say like Kadarius Toney, DJ Moore, individuals that can take over a game because they're so athletically gifted, they're agile, they're quick. This defense is proving a lot of people wrong this year. They may not be the best, but they're definitely damn good at creating turnovers. But they allow a lot of yards. The Cowboys are one of the worst teams in the NFL at allowing passing yards. This can easily go in favor of the Minnesota Vikings because you can throw it to Justin Jefferson. You can throw it to Adam Thielen, who had a big day against the Cowboys last year in their matchup. Or you can throw it to Dalvin Cook because the Cowboys just don't know how to cover running backs on throws like they have against, they've gone lucky because they haven't gone against, let's say, Christian McCaffrey or some of the better running backs in the league. They didn't have to face Saquon because he got injured early in that game. But I'm thinking about the matchups against Washington last year. They don't know how to cover Antonio Gibson. They didn't know how to cover DJ Moore. They didn't know how to cover Kadarius Toney. Even though these were the vocal points of their offenses during those games, the Cowboys just had no answer for that. There is a no-answer type of player, and I say that in quotation. There's a no-answer type of guy 3 times on the Minnesota Vikings. You can say that for Adam Thielen, for Justin Jefferson, and Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is banged up, but he still plays damn hard. And the running attack is very good. They can set up the play action for Kirk Cousins. And Adam Thielen, who's most likely going to have the matchup against Anthony Brown, is going to have that favorable matchup. He's going to have the advantage. I'm interested to see what Trevon Diggs does because I'm not really going to expect him to play on Justin Jefferson the entire game. They didn't do that against the Buccaneers. They didn't do that against the Chargers. They kind of switch it up with Trevon Diggs. He doesn't always go against the number 1 receiver every single time. Justin Jefferson's going to see Trevon Diggs a lot, but I expect that Adam Thielen will get a switch up every once in a while and see Trevon Diggs right in front of him. So Anthony Brown's very important because he's got multiple targets or multiple weapons to look after. And the last time that we saw a deep, really talented wide receiver room go against Anthony Brown, it was against, you could say the Chargers, but that was just an off day for everybody. So we can really say that the week 1 matchup against Antonio Brown for Anthony Brown was the last time that he had to deal with a lot, and it didn't fare well. I know he's been playing better as of late. His coverage efficiency has been better. He's gotten turnovers. He's got the pick 6. Okay, but I'm not going to believe in Anthony Brown going forward. And I feel like he can get exposed again in this game. So this is where the Minnesota Vikings are very dangerous. This can be a very big day for Randy Gregory, and I hope it is, because the way that he's been playing these last few weeks, including the New England game, has been tremendous. The sacks aren't adding up like people would assume for a great defensive end, but the QB hits, the rushes, the pressures, they're all in favor for Randy Gregory to have a really good day against a inconsistent offensive line for the Minnesota Vikings. And maybe a little bit of a bigger day for Osa Odigizua now that he has to step up once again Brent Urban, guys like that, Carlos Watkins have been banged up. One's out for the season with a tricep injury. Osa is going to have to step up, and they will get Tristan Hill back very soon. They will get Neville Gallimore in a few weeks. That's great and all, but for right now, they are a little bit exposed and depleted on the interior for the defensive line. So Osa Odighizuwa does have to step up in this game. And then you also have DeMarcus Lawrence coming back in a few weeks. So really, it's up to Randy Gregory and Osa Odighizuwa, who have been the best players up front for this team. And then I'm really intrigued at how they're going to utilize Micah Parsons, because they could just utilize him as a guy that takes over for Dalvin Cook and make sure that he is on an out route or just on the flat route for most of this game. Nothing really explosive or on a screen. He can just pure instinct go after Dalvin Cook. I want to see Micah Parsons rush the quarterback a little bit more this week. I am tired of seeing him just be a stand-up linebacker, and he's next to Leighton Vander Esch every single time, and he has to play coverage most of the time. Screw it. If Kirk Cousins is under pressure, he will collapse. He will feel the pressure and will just go into his little own shell. His pocket awareness is absolutely terrible. Kirk Cousins is one of the worst quarterbacks at pocket awareness. Why not utilize that in your favor by getting Micah Parsons and just throwing him different parts of the field? Throw him on the edge. Throw him on the inside. Blitz him. Blitz Kirk Cousins, and I guarantee you this can be a really good performance for the Dallas Cowboys defense. But it starts with Micah Parsons blitzing Kirk Cousins. It's not with Leighton Vander Esch or Jaron Kearse or DeMonte Casey if he's even still on the team. Micah Parsons, let him roam free. Let him have a Penn State type of day to where Dan Quinn just goes up to him on game day and says, "Go on, pony boy. Stay golden. Hey, run." You know, like that. That's just, I want that. I want that game. I want that performance where Micah Parsons just lets it go. Just don't think, just go. And you have 10 other guys that will do the rest for you. That's what I want out of this defense right now, because I expect a lot of points for both sides if Dak Prescott does play. If not, Cooper Rush is not going to score a lot of points. But you get what I mean. I am very concerned for the Cowboys defense because they do give up a lot of yards, and that could lead to touchdowns. Really, they can give up a lot of yards. It's just a matter of what they do in the red zone. I'm not truly confident in the Cowboys defense in the red zone. I've never have been, never will. Until they really get a bunch of stops. But I think last year in that game against Minnesota really proved that in the red zone, inside the 5, Adam Thielen's a god and cannot be stopped against the secondary. So I think both defenses are going to give up 25 plus, 30 plus in this game. Like 34-31. That's kind of my score prediction. I don't know where that goes as far as the teams, but that's my kind of score line for both sides. But I don't think that the Cowboys are focused on this game. I think this is a throwaway game for them, saying like, we were dealing with a lot. You know, Dak Prescott, we're going to go back to that and say he wasn't 100%. We were kind of iffy on him starting. So either he doesn't start, just don't worry about it. Like, if he doesn't start, I'm not worried about this game whatsoever. That's when you get into your easier matchups against Denver, against Atlanta, and then you get into your divisional games against Washington and New York. Those are the games that matter. Those are the games that matter the most right now. But you may not get the first seed, but at least you have your quarterback for the next 12 weeks or the next 14 weeks, whatever that will come. So all in all, I don't think Dak should start this game unless he is 100% confident and the doctors say he's good, he looks great. If the coaches say he doesn't look any different in practice, go right ahead. But if any slight of doubt that you say, I don't want to risk it, take him out. Let's just deal with the loss. Minnesota, you know what, make it a little bit more competitive for Green Bay in that NFC North, and then We'll move on. We'll move on, and we'll beat Denver. We'll beat Atlanta handedly with a healthy Dak Prescott, and then we beat the crap out of everybody in our division. And that's all that matters. We win the division. We get a wild card. Whatever. We got to go through the teams anyways. Only other thing I can mention is Kirk Cousins primetime. And actually, you know what's funny is that the narrative or the the assumption of Kirk Cousins in primetime, and I'm at fault for this too, thinking that he is terrible at primetime. Here's a little all have the turntables type of situation, because yes, Kirk Cousins is bad in primetime, but Monday night primetime is the issue. He is terrible on playing on Monday nights, but Sunday night football, he actually has a winning record. And you think, well, NBC might be nice to him, and Chris Collinsworth might be giving him a lot more praise than he deserves. But yes, Kirk Cousins is actually a winning quarterback against Sunday Night Football, I should say. I think he's 6-2. No, 4-2, 4-1, something like that. But he does have a winning record. And you know what? Primetime Kirk. It's Halloween. Give us a show. Home turf. Dak Prescott doesn't play. Who cares? We move on. We barely do the review on Monday or Tuesday. And then we get ready for Denver. But all that matters is that Dak Prescott is a healthy quarterback at the end of this week. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more content on the YouTube channel. A lot of things going through my mind, and I'm getting prepared. I'm very tired right now, so I may not do everything. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this game for the Cardinals and the Packers. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your Halloween weekend. And we'll see you next time on the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast.
Yeah, hold on. Tell me who's your top 5 quarterbacks right now, dead or alive, huh? And how much do you care about a ring if the best player got carried by the team?